Well, first of all, good afternoon, everybody. Well, my name is Maria, and let me just introduce myself, first of all, so you can get an idea of what kind of person I am and what do I do for living. Well, I'm a graduate of the school where Mr. Starostin actually taught marketing and all. But right now, I'm their secretary and interpreter to the ambassador of Sri Lanka to the Russian Federation. And at the same time, I'm a third-year student at the MGIMO University, and I major in international trade and commerce. So basically, it's like economics and all. And as far as I understand, you study PR and advertising, correct? Okay, great. Well, today we would like to show you some slides and just give you some basic information on how it is to work in the international environment 24/7. I would like to share with you my personal experience, and my thoughts and observations, because I've been working at the embassy for almost 3 years and 6 months, I guess. And I started working 2 weeks after my high school graduation. I got my diploma in June, and then 2 weeks after that, I applied for a job. And after a series of tests and interviews, I got it when I was 17, so now I'm 21. Well, let's start with the basic information, all right? So these are the points and questions which I would like to bring up today at our lecture. Well, first we will cover their intercultural issues in general, like what they are and what kind of issues you may face when you work in an international company, whether it's PR or advertising, whatsoever. Then we will talk about establishment of common grounds with foreigners when it comes to business. Because you guys study their major, like the discipline, like advertising and PR, which is very international in nature. So all the knowledge and all the practice which you get here, you will be able to apply it in real life once you graduate from this university. So I think it's very important to know how to establish direct communication and the correct direct communication with foreigners in business, whether it's multinational company or something like that. Then we will talk about working under pressure. I know that it's a very common issue nowadays, but still and for all, I think it's very important to cover that and just consider it. And last but not least, I will tell you a little bit about qualities and skills you need to land your dream job. Basically, what kind of person you should build yourself into to get the job that you really want, whether it's like an internship or fellowship or part-time job during your studies, during your academic year, or a full-time job once you graduate from the university. So these are the talking points of our lecture today. So let's start with the first one. So first, I would like to get an idea from you. What do you consider to be international and intercultural issues? Like, what are your ideas about it? Anyone? Sorry? Okay, language, yes, that can be a very huge barrier. Like, what is the definition of intercultural issues? Like, when you listen and when you hear this phrase, what pops up in your mind? Like, what do you think of when you hear intercultural issues? Okay, diplomacy, that's great. Well, basically, yes, intercultural issues are very relevant to diplomacy, to diplomatical field. Anything else? Any ideas, guys? Yeah, sure. Okay, great. Such as? Can you give some examples? Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's true. And I saw some hand in here, I think. Yeah, sure. Yes, actually, you guys gave basic and major examples of what intercultural issues may look like and what they are in nature. So just for your understanding, this is my definition of intercultural issues. These are basically all the challenges and obstacles that you may face during your usual everyday life and during your work life, when you are at work or even at the university, because I know that there are many international students that study at your university. And basically they appear due to differences which can be cultural, and religious, just like you said, like mental ones, in case that when you don't understand somebody, or traditions, just like you said. So basically, you guys quite correct about it. And all the intercultural issues can be divided into 4 groups, like language-related ones, social constructs. These are basically like social, social rules and regulations which are common in one country but are very uncommon in another. And once you go there, it's very, it takes you some time to get adjusted and just to, just see what it is and how it looks like. Then authoritarian concepts. As you may know, there are, in some countries, if we consider a family, for example, then a father is the main figure in this family, but a woman is not. In some countries, it's vice versa. So in business, it's the same. It's very important to know which countries you consider when you work and what kind of people you meet while you just make your career. So it's very important to know what kind of mindset they have, even in terms of this, because sometimes a man cannot speak up in front of a woman, right? Or it's actually quite opposite when a woman has a voice and just can speak up her mind very freely. So these are 4 groups which, if combined, present and represent intercultural issues. Then, intercultural issues are a very serious problem nowadays in the modern business world, and in huge companies, and whether it's advertising or PR or economics, whatsoever, just actually doesn't matter. These issues may become an obstacle in a way when you want to build your career, right? Or when you want to implement some kind of project, like corporate, business project. And these developments can be stopped or blocked by these obstacles. So here are some advice. Here is some advice of what you can do to prevent these issues and to stop them or neutralize them if they are already visible. And of course, it's very important to read a lot about cultures, right, and unique traditions of different nations. By that, I mean that you actually need to get familiarized with some materials prior to your business meetings, negotiations, or presentations when you give some to intercultural and international audience. Then it's very important to not to push when you see an obstacle. Basically, when you realize that you are in this situation, when this intercultural issue is already in place and there is kind of misunderstanding between you and another person, it's very important not to push. Just try to be diplomatic and just find some common ground and try to avoid all the angles of your conversation which are very uncomfortable for you and for another person. So it's very important to be vigilant and think in advance of what you want to say and what you can say to some kind of person, not to offend them. And if you already did, or if that person already did that, then you just need to figure out a way to get out of this uncomfortable situation and establish a new way of communication, which is the correct one and the polite one. Then it's very important to remember that something that is acceptable in one country may not be acceptable in another one. That's basically what you gave when you gave the example. It's actually all the same. So when you think of something, or if you want to, make some kind of compliment to a person, or just say something, you should be very careful about it, because sometimes it may not go as you wish it could, And from my personal experience, I can say, because I have been working with a lot of Asian nations, like Indians, Sri Lankans, because due to the nature of my work. I'm all around, Sri Lankan people, and their culture is completely different. And, it differs from ours, like 100%. Because Asians, they are they are very, very calm, and they're a little bit slow, because like Russians, they're very active. They want to do this and that and all at the same time, and I want to do that and this project and that and etc. So it's very important to find this balance, because and like very important to see what kind of people you work with, because they may be slow, right? But their final goal, the final destination of your cooperation is the same, right? If you work in an internationally oriented group, let's say if you just cooperate with some students from other countries in the framework of your university, like academical life, right? Academic life, and it's very important to feel the balance, to establish it first of all, then to try to sustain it, because it's really, really important. Well, do not use gestures in different cultures that you are not aware of, or when you're not sure that it's the proper thing to do, just don't do it. Try to avoid it. Because, I had, when I started at the embassy, there was this huge reception when all the diplomats from other embassies came, from the ministries, all the officials, and representatives of Asian embassies, like India and Sri Lanka, well, mostly, they started eating with their hands. Well, that's absolutely normal for them. That's absolutely normal for Asian countries. And when you go there, like when you go to Thailand, for example, or even Sri Lanka. Yes. Yeah, sure, of course. Hey guys, you can take the first rows here, okay? No need to get stuck at the end. Otherwise, I'm feeling very lonely here, Guys, you can go here downstairs. Or not. It's up to you. Okay, well, I guess we can proceed now with our lecture, right? So, for those who just came in, just a brief introduction, 30 seconds. My name is Maria, okay, and I'm a guest speaker today, and we're talking about intercultural issues, working in the international environment, and all the obstacles you may face while working in the international environment. I personally have been working at this kind of environment for almost 4 years as the secretary and interpreter to the ambassador of Sri Lanka to Russia. And also I studied at the MGIMO University, so obviously I'm all about international things. So let's come back to our subject, shall we? Well, speaking about international issues and how to prevent them, well, we finished on the gestures thing. Do not use gestures in different cultures that you are not aware of. Well, obviously, because some nations, they use some signs like yes or no, right? When you knock your head, like yes or no, and that's absolutely different in some countries. Or when you just I got away with my thoughts, sorry. I was talking about eating with hands. That for me it was quite an unusual experience actually, because we use forks and knives, and it's normal for us, it's etiquette. But when you see this kind of thing in real life for the first time, because I've never been to Asian countries, I've heard of them, yes, okay, they eat, so it's fine. But when you see it in real life, you feel oh my God, what are they doing? Because seriously, guys, that's you need to take some time to process this image, and just to get it sink in a little bit. Okay, that's normal. You just need to get it over with and just used to it, because it's a normal thing. So I've been watching these episodes for almost 4 years now. So guys, I'm already used to that. Then another key point which I would like to highlight for you is keeping an open mind. well, we're all different, right? We all have different dispositions and our worldviews and political preferences whatsoever, like religious preferences. No, doesn't matter at all. But it's very important to be open to new things when you cooperate with foreign people, because it's really about understanding and acceptance and being polite. Because if you don't object, I mean, you may disagree with some points, but just don't object them, because it's very important to be diplomatic, and it's vital for your activities as well. Because if you work with, and surrounded by people from different countries, obviously you will have some kind of misunderstandings all the time, because, well, as you can see, different opinions, different ideas, even if you have the same project and the same goal to achieve, your approaches may be different. So it's very important to keep an open mind, to listen to others, not just pursue your personal point. Of course, it's very important to be determined and to speak up and to tell your truth, obviously, but it's also important to take into consideration thoughts of others. They may be ridiculous, they may sound awful or unpleasant or whatsoever, like all kinds of things. But it's very important to just listen to them, you know, because this way you will show your respect, and you will show that you actually care about others, that you're not selfish, even as a manager, or I don't know, like marketing specialist, PR agent, like all kinds of professions. It's very important to keep an open mind, you know, because there are some situations when alternatives, they may seem very ridiculous at first, but then after some time you just start thinking about it and you realize that that person is actually right, and like all the arguments, they were about nothing, because it's very like, I mean, these ideas can also be very, you know, suitable for your situation or for your project. So it's really about well, I would say keeping an open mind, yes. Just take this as your motto for your career, because you may work for different people or with different people. Your bosses may be, you know, harsh on you, or I don't know, like they may play some tricks on you, or just overload you with work, you know, which you're actually not supposed to do. But you should always find and look for positive points, like in all your activities, because it's really important to just, you know, to see that all the situations and all the experiences that you get to face and have, they have some kind of positive outcome for you. You learn something from it. So keeping an open mind means also learning from others, and especially it's very useful if these people are from different countries. They have absolutely different background, they behave differently, and they have their personal outlooks and personal worldviews, but at the end you realize that even though they may be different from you, but still and for all, you learn a lot from them. That's what I learned from my work experience, because when this is actually my first, and I hope not last, full-time job, and well, it's really just useful to learn a lot and listen to other people and to their ideas. Then it's very important to be conflict constructive. So anybody knows what conflict constructive means? Just what do you think about it? Like any definition at all? Constructive means being reasonable, just a synonym, right? So whenever you are in a conflict with somebody and you quarrel with your colleague, especially in an international company, it's very common because of different outsets, you know, dispositions and etc. It's very important to stay reasonable, and that's actually their a consequence from my previous point, keeping an open mind. It's very important to, you know, listen to other party, first of all, and try to avoid all the negativity and all the aggressiveness which you may see in others or even in yourself. So it's very important while working with international international audience, I guess. It's very important just to keep an open mind and be constructive in conflicts, in terms of conflicts, of course, because when you fight about something, and in Russian we have a saying that conflicts are, the truth comes out of conflicts, or something like that. It's actually a very common thing all over the world, and I've met a lot of people from, you know, all the continents, literally, and from what I can, you know, see, and based on my personal experience, it's really important not to show off and not to be aggressive when you try to prove your point, because it's really, I mean, it's nice that you can do that. I mean, basically you have your, you know, character in place, but it's also useful, and it's also necessary just to be constructive and try to, you know, rationalize your behavior even when you're angry or when you're overwhelmed with your emotions. Then let's move on to our next subject, finding common ground with foreigners in business. So here are also some key moments which I just would like to discuss with you. The first one is learning key phrases. By that I mean learning some kind of, you know, phrases which are only used in some kind of countries, you know, like hello in Chinese, if you work with your Chinese partners. So before the negotiations start, it's just nice, you know, to see that you are onto the topic and that you have done your homework before your, I don't know, negotiations or presentation, right? That actually means that you care about other party, that you care about your partners, and you really want to have a good, well-established working relationship with some like other person. And well, even you know, in Sri Lanka, people speak Sinhalese language. It's a very rare language, and only, I guess, Sri Lankans speak that. And another person who speaks that language is Mr. Lavrov, our foreign minister. And I guess he remembers only, like, you know, some simple phrases like hello and goodbye in Sinhalese, because he learned that language when he was studying at the MGIMO University. I guess it's just like he's one of a few people in Russia who speaks that language. And when he met with our delegation, he, I mean, even though like he's a bit like, you know, high-level person, he's a, like, you know, very respectable man all over the world, especially in Sri Lanka, because they're crazy about Russia, they in love with Russia. And he just said hello in Sinhalese to our delegation. And, you know, when we entered the room, there was like a bit of a tension in the room, you know, like, because like high-level person like Mr. Lavrov, and you know, like you read all the news about this person, and then he just like all of a sudden he says this simple thing which you can, I don't know, hear in a supermarket when you're in Sri Lanka, and then all the tension just went away. So it's very important to have your key phrases learned by heart and in place, but please know when you can use them, because sometimes there may be like, you know, circumstances when you better just like keep silence or keep talking but in English, because sometimes you may, you know, expect something else, like one thing, but at the end it turns into another thing, which may not be as pleasant as you wish it would be. Right? Then explore your business partner client culture. Well, they are all related actually, right? So client culture, well, that's actually all the same, because learning key phrases is a part of exploration of your partner's culture. You know, you can just like, I don't know, brew some tea if that is like acceptable in your partner's culture or something else, you know. You basically, all these tools of your international activities, I would say, they are directed towards making your business activities more social and more client-oriented. So if you provide PR services or advertising services to an international client, like from another country, then it's very, very important to know that some of the techniques which you may think fit to the situation, they may not fit the person like personally, sorry for repeating, right? That is why you should do your homework, and you should learn a lot about the culture of a person that you're about to talk to and to work with, so you can avoid all the obstacles, all the intercultural issues which we've talked about, and just, you know, enjoy their working process in general. Then promoting appreciation of different cultures. That actually has a connection to keeping an open mind. Well, basically, this is about Accepting other cultures, other traditions, other customs, which may be a bit weird for you. They may seem very strange for you and to you, but in a way, you should accept them because that's acceptable in your partners or business colleague country, and you should work with these people, right? And you want to do good business and make great results and do all the activities like advertising and PR. So it's very important to promote, to be grateful for this and thankful. Then being open to trying new things. Well, again, it's like keeping an open mind, so I guess we can leave it like that. Be accommodating. That's actually very important. And in my opinion, it's really about accepting things which may feel weird to us, but after all, it's very important to be understanding and accepting and accommodating. So basically, you should be very focused, and you should when you are in a situation which is a bit stressful for you, like you realize that there is some kind of tension between you and other people, like especially if you're from different countries, you should just try to make yourself adjust to the circumstances, like how it is and what you should do about it and how you can make it better. So it's very important to just keep thinking about accommodation to the situation or adjustment. And last but not least, you should learn the art of small talk. Small talk is basically like no chit chat. Like you talk about nothing with somebody for a little bit, just to establish some kind of common ground, and just to proceed with your negotiations or business correspondence whatsoever. So on this note, I would like to bring your attention to the technique of 5 stages, the art of small talk. This is actually very important and very useful, whether you work or study or just, talk to your peers in your social surroundings. So just keep that in mind because it's really, really useful. When I learned about it like a couple of years ago, I thought, oh my God, it's so obvious. Like everybody knows about it, how to build, a normal conversation with the person, just hi, how are you? But at the end, it's really important to structurize your conversation and think in advance of what you're going to say next. So the first step is getting started, right? Getting started meaning just bringing up some kind of topic like, oh, it's very hot out there, isn't it, right? And just, to feel the connection and establish a connection with another person. So he or she can understand that you're actually the one who is willing to talk, right? So they can just focus on you. Then goes personal introduction. There you can say a few phrases about yourself. What do you do for a living? Okay, let's just focus on some kind of example. You guys attend an international conference on PR techniques, right? And there are many people there, and you are all alone. You don't know anybody there, like literally anybody. And you realize that, well, you need to stick to somebody, like maybe your neighbor, who is sitting next to you. But you don't know how to start a conversation, and it feels really weird to be alone, and you have no idea what's going on and what kind of people they are, right? So personal introduction meaning you start a conversation, about something, and then you just start talking, hi, so what do you do for a living? Why did you come for this to this conference, right? What do you expect from it? Then pre-topical exploration. These are basically the moments when you talk about something and you are moving towards the main subject of your conversation, like PR techniques, for example. You basically go here and there all around the main subject just to, to develop some kind of understanding between each other. Then goes topic building. This is actually the main stage where you actually talk about the subject of your conversation, and you explore your opponents or basically conversation partner's opinion, and you get to know him or her. And then the stage of the wrap up. Wrap up meaning a little bit finishing the conversation and moving towards the end when you realize that okay, that's enough. I've talked enough. I've known the person, so that's okay. You can finish something with some diplomatic phrase. like, well, nice talking to you, talk soon, something like that. Well, you all have English language here, right? So you study English here. So I guess that's not a problem for you to figure out a way, to create something. And wrap up, well, basically means, yes, finishing the conversation. If you have a business card, you can exchange your business cards, or, ask for an email if you want to keep in touch with the person. It's very important, even though if you don't want to keep in touch, just say something, like, can I get your email? You may not even write to a person after that, but it will just show that you are polite, that you are a well-behaved person, and that you are very rational and intelligent. Because it's very important to finish a talk on good terms, I would say. Then let's talk about working under pressure. And we will focus, we will basically orientate this huge problem, which is present all over the world nowadays, onto the international environment in particular, right? So, technique number 1, focus on your assignment. Assignment means like project or, some kind of task which you are given by your boss or your colleagues or your supervisor or even your professor at the university. Well, I have been using these 6 steps for more than 3 years because I work under pressure all the time, and it's really, really challenging for me. Because our embassy is very small. We have the staff of like 20 diplomats and 5 Russian persons. And the amount of work that we do every day is just, enormous, literally enormous. So working under pressure has become kind of my thing, So step number 1, focus on your assignment. Here, what you need to do is you need to have your notebook and just write a to-do list. I do this every morning. When I come to work, I just, sit behind my desk, I open my notebook, and I just write the date, to-do list, what I need to do. It structurizes your brain, it structurizes your activity, and it makes it more productive. So it's very important. There may be, some buzz going on around you, and people run like crazy in the office because, pressure is felt by literally everybody, believe me. But you need to focus on your assignment because you are the one to do it, and you need, and maybe you want to do it like the best way you can. Just, to get some kind of appreciation from your boss or get some kind of, benefits, or just for yourself, Because my opinion is that if you do something, you should do it well. Don't do this if you don't want the good outcome because it's just pointless. You will waste your time, you will waste the time of others, and it will go nowhere. So, focusing on your assignment means just, shutting off all the buzz around, like telephone ringing, emails clicking, etc., etc., all these things. It's really important to just, get a little bit far from it, like in your mind, and just focus on what you need to do, and that will help you to achieve the best result in the fastest way. Then, step number 2, making an outline of a project and breaking it down into manageable tasks. Well, let's say you have a huge project to write or to make. It's really important to structurize, like I said, to-do list, right? You can break the main idea into several steps, and you can implement them and exercise them one by one and complete them. So it's really about just structurizing, yes. Basically, this is the idea, because when you know what to do next, you will take the pressure off yourself, right? Because you are not worried, okay, what I'm gonna do next. You are not worried, oh my God, I don't have time, I will not make it on time. The boss gave me the deadline like Friday, and it's Thursday, and I can't do anything. So it's very important to just set small, small deadlines, I would say, for each point of your project. And actually, it's very reasonable to use also when you study, because when you have like a lot of homework to do and you don't know where to start and you hate it at all, and it's like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? So it's really about breaking into smaller points, smaller assignments, and even like on a subconscious level, when you do that, you see like, oh, that's actually very manageable. I can do that within like 30 minutes. And then you realize that all the 5 steps, which take you 30 minutes each, will give you a complete project. It's done, finish. So it's really important to, just be rational about your business activities, about your work and all the assignments that you are given, right? And just try to, feel good about yourself. Don't put any extra pressure on yourself, because when you worry, it will not be productive for you and for others. Then step number 3, taking short breaks to de-stress whenever you can. Well, my break is a 15 minutes walk around the embassy, just to get some fresh air and to get my mind, shut down for a little bit, because it's very important not to overstress and, to stay reasonable, to stay normal, not to shout at everybody whenever somebody comes into your office, like, go away, I need to do something. So it's really it's really important to take your time to relax, to have a good sleep. Even though I sleep 2 hours in a day, still I say to everybody that everybody should get good sleep. Well, basically, yes, short breaks are the key to your productivity. My friends, it's really, really vital to your success to know when you should study or work, and to know when you should relax. When you are feeling that you are in over your head and you're like, okay, I need to take a break, and you should do that. Do not postpone it, do not delay it, just take it. These 15 minutes will save your time, like, in a way better way that you can imagine. Then step number 4, be flexible. This technique is very useful, especially if you are surrounded by foreign people, when you are immersed in their international atmosphere. All people have different opinions about your work, and they have different suggestions, different approaches to your assignment. So it's very important to be flexible, and flexible meaning adjusting yourself to the recommendations of others. Let's say your colleague comes in to give some kind of, a piece of advice, and you should listen to it. You should listen to it not because you really want to, do like he or she says, but just because you should take your mind off the main topic and see maybe there is actually a more reasonable approach to it. So and if your boss, if your boss just gives you assignments all the time and puts so much pressure on you, it's very, it is necessary actually to just, stay normal. Do not stress out, do not shout at anybody, because that's a bad way to go, and stay flexible to others' recommendations, suggestions, pieces of advice, and go on, etc. Then number 5 is not to let intercultural misunderstanding between you and your colleagues get in the way of your activities and become a basis for a conflict. So here, I guess it speaks for itself, right? So it's very clear that once you have a misunderstanding, just keep it away from your main assignment. Like when you work with your partner and you know that you have no way to go, and this is the only thing that you can do is just to stay and keep working with this person, even though when you hate each other, it's still necessary for you to work with this person and figure out a way how to complete some kind of project together. So it's very important to be conflict constructive, which we've talked before, and not to let these misunderstandings, well, most of all, they all have intercultural nature. Not to get in the way of your work, and this way you will also be able to avoid conflicts, and because conflicts, well, first they postpone your work, you waste your energy on nothing, you spend your time on nothing, and then when you don't make it in time, you say, oh my god, why did we even quarrel about it? We should just we should have forgot about it and just moved on. Then last but not least is self-discipline. It's the worldwide key to any success story. Literally, I've spoken to so many people from like all over the world, all the countries, like the United States, Sri Lanka, Australia, and etc. And all of them say that it's very necessary and vital for you and for your business activities to be self-disciplined. Because you may have a great boss or an awful boss who shouts at you all the time, but you need to do your job well. You need to implement all your projects in a good way and in a way that it will satisfy your boss, yourself even. So it's very important to, just again, these to-do lists, they're also very helpful in terms of self-discipline because you know what you should do and what kind of priorities you should give to some tasks. So it's about controlling yourself and controlling your behavior, even though you realize like, okay, I can do it like in 1 hour. Now I have like a TV show to watch. So like I will watch it and then like in 2 hours I may get back to my job. Don't do that. That's a very bad technique. And that's about self-discipline. When you have some deadlines to meet, it's important to actually meet them. Do not give you any excuses and do not just, delay it and put it on to the last moment because procrastination is not good. So these are 6 points which I just thought to mention. Of course, there are like many more of them to say and to list, but these are the major ones. These are what makes you effective at your job, and that's what makes your success story, whether you study or work, especially in the intercultural environment, right? So here is the question for you guys, because I'm tired of talking. Which qualities do you think are necessary for somebody who wants to get his or her dream job? What do you think? Like which qualities and skills you would like to have or to see in somebody in order to land a dream job? Yes, sure. Okay, yes, these are one of the major qualities to mention. Yes, please. Okay, yes, well, obviously, yes, you should know what you talk about and what you want to do. Yes? Okay, yes, it's actually very important, because when I came to apply for a job, I was 17 with my high school diploma in hand, and with my state exam scores. But thankfully, I could speak English, more or less. So that got me what I wanted. But that's true. You should be well qualified because the person who hires you should know that any assignment he or she gives you will be completed by you, no matter what. And it's really important to be, just like you said, like to meet all the requirements and etc. So any other ideas, guys? Maybe on the left wing, somebody will say something. Okay, yeah, that's very important. You should behave like you know literally everything about your field, even though you don't know nothing. But just don't tell anybody I told you that. Yes, I saw some hand there. Yes, obviously, because if you do not want to do the job that you are given or what you applied for, well, maybe like in 2 weeks or even if it's 2 years, you will get bored and it will get you nowhere. You may not see some opportunities and you may miss them, just because you are bored and you don't want to do what you do. So obviously that's true. Any other ideas? Yep. Well, yes, can't argue with that. That's true. But you should know the right place and the right time to use your sense of humor, because sometimes, it may not work out in a way that you want to, Anything else? Yep, sure. Yes, that's true. That's absolutely true, because it's important to show your potential employer that you are the person he or she can rely on, that whenever you are given some task, you will complete it without any, control from above or any, you know, like reminder, like, did you do this? Did you do this? Why didn't you do this? Like, it's time. Just come on, get to work. So yes, you should just, even like when you're having a job interview, it's very important to point out your reliability and your self-discipline and your sense of responsibility, that whenever you are given some responsibility, you can hold it. Anything else? Any other ideas? Yes. Yes, but can you just, you know, elaborate on that? What do you mean by that? Yes, that's true, because it's very important to let your opponent or communication, you know, partner to finish his or her thought, you know, to finish and let him finish his talk. So you will show first respect that you have for your partner, and you will show that you are really interested in what he has he or she has to say, obviously. So any other ideas, or shall we move on? Okay, then let's move on. We can talk about it a bit later. So, you want to work in the international environments? Here are the rules you should keep in mind. First, improve your proficiency in foreign languages every day. And I mean literally every day. Whenever you are in the subway on the way to your university, just open your phone, just download an app of English language, whatever, like Chinese, I don't know what you guys study here, and just spend 30 minutes, you know, just to revise your grammar or learn new words, or even just don't open your Instagram, okay? That's a very bad way to go. Open instead some kind of, you know, English language website, or I don't know, New York Times, The Guardian, any newspaper in English language, because it's really important, because, I mean, this is all for you guys. You do yourself a favor when you just, you know, choose between, okay, I'm gonna check my Facebook, you know, I'm gonna check my social media, or else you can just open your app on your phone, also very easy, just one click, and learn 15 words on your way to the university. Isn't it good? Of course it's good. And, well, I mean, it's needless to say that you should speak like 1 or 2 or even more languages to succeed like in the international modern world, because if you want to be competitive on a job market, especially when it comes to advertising and PR, you know, it's very, very competitive field nowadays, even though I'm not related to that, but from my perspective, I think it is. It's very important to show your advantages over, I mean, the advantages which you have over others. Like the line in your diploma where it says like English language, like 95, your score, it's good, it's really good, but you should go beyond that. You know, there are international tests which prove your proficiency, like TOEFL, IELTS. Maybe somebody from you, I mean, among you has already taken such test, or at least heard of it. Did anybody hear about it? Like international, yeah, great. So you guys know that it's really important to show a certificate, because once you show it to your employer, like at a job interview, like, do you speak English? Yes, I do. He or she, like a recruiter, a headhunter, may ask you a couple of questions, and you may even answer them correctly, and they will see that, okay, he's fluent in English. But when it comes to job, they will hire you. I mean, you will start your working life and you will start your career in some kind of company, but then when it comes to everyday work, you cannot be as fluent as you wish you could be, right? I think you know what I'm talking about. Like, you can support, like, you know, sustain the conversation, but if you go deeper than that, it may give you some obstacles. So please just do it, okay? Literally every day, because, well, I don't know. Well, I speak English, like, more or less well, I guess. And I've never been to the States. I've never been to the UK, literally. And I just managed to find my ways here in Moscow to implement my English. and to ameliorate my proficiency in it. If you want, we can talk about it after the lecture, no problem at all. Then let's move on to the next point, which is looking for opportunities to lighten up your CV. CV means resume. I guess you are here like first-year students, right? And third-year students, correct? Okay. But still, even though you have quite a long way to go with your diploma and your degree, it's very important to start thinking about your potential career. You know, and I said like it's South Korea. Sorry. Well, anyway, it's very important to do your best, because let's say you spend 4 years at the university, you study from time to time, and you kind of have average grades, and you see a job opportunity which you are interested in, but once you go to your potential employer for an interview, they will ask you what kind of work experience do you have. And then you should say something or show something about it, you know? So look for opportunities. Go online. Don't spend your time on watching movies or something. Just, take maybe 30 minutes or something like that, just to Google, internships, like seminars, forums, international forums in Moscow. We have so many conferences for students, and especially like advertising and PR. Just make a list of companies which you want to work for after you graduate and send them an email asking for some kind of, internships, or maybe like for the summertime, because you don't have classes in the summer. So it's really important to not only to do your best as a student, but do your best as a potential professional in your field. You should be expert of your sector which you work in, right? So it's really important to look for opportunities. Do not be afraid to get rejected. You may apply for some kind of participation in a conference, and they may decline your application, saying that you are not qualified. Do not get it into your head. Just move on. Okay, you tried, but you did try. You also learned something from it. So it's very important to keep looking. Then don't be afraid to go global.